Welcome back to another episode of Cocoville Tuesdays. I think we're on episode 6 now, further than probably anyone thought we would get. Today we're basically just expanding on the area that we built last time, trying to fill out this little bit as much as possible. And also the other part of this kind of really hilly area that we couldn't build much on. I decided to go with kind of a high-class, expensive villa type deal, kind of like Hollywood Hills. So that's what we do in this one. I also spend a good amount of time with that really big tier 6 building that you see on the left there. That really tall spire one. I forget the name of it, but it takes a lot of time to try and figure out where to place that, and it doesn't really end up working too well. Just because there's such a slope in this area. But I figured this new spot that we're putting in, I would just try and fill with offices, basically. We do have a lot of offices in that area already, but there's demand for more, so I'll keep putting them. I don't really want to put any actual industry in if I can help it. You can see I tried to put in another metro line. Didn't really work because, again, it's such an awkward hill that's on, and it's not really worth it to just tear the whole thing, like tear everything down, try and level it artificially and fix it that way. So you can see we did level up to the next city milestone. So I want to get the nuclear plant. Basically, once you have that, you can just get rid of everything else. So that's more or less what I did, but trying to find everything that I had kind of scattered all over was a little tricky. I'll go back shortly after this and get rid of most of those just because I don't really need the expense. And I did also unlock one of the new hubs that were added in one of the latest updates. So it's supposed to be, it's basically just the passenger ferry, but it has 2 spots for 2 ferries. You can see I'm deleting some of these hydro things. I do like the original windmill, so I just left those, but I got rid of everything else. But yeah, the terminal is supposed to be 2 ferry spots, and then it's supposed to have basically a built-in bus terminal inside it, which, I mean, isn't super useful because bus terminals, you just place them wherever and all the buses just kind of appear out of them. But I want to try it and see what it looked like. I ended up moving it kind of out of the way because it wouldn't fit in the spot that the old one was, and it also said that wouldn't, for some reason, it couldn't get a path from the ocean to there. I figured this little bay, it's not going to be flat enough to build on anyway, so I might as well put a nice little bridge there or something. And then just connecting this across so we have a circle. Otherwise, you just end up with everything turning around in one spot, which is not ideal. Especially when you have the ferry like this, because you're going to have traffic coming out of it, and you don't want them all to have to just go somewhere, turn around, and come all the way back. I do leave the other passenger terminal up at the top there. I haven't decided yet if I'll get rid of it. I probably should since they're so close together, but for now I'm just gonna wait and see kind of what it takes in terms of passengers, if they're both still being used or not. Also, you can see I tried putting a road there and it just went underground, so that kind of threw off my original plan, but that's kind of when I decided it's too much of a hill to build on, so I end up just making it kind of like a fancy villa, low density area. I just kind of looked at it at one point and saw, oh, that kind of looks like the Hollywood Hills a bit, and then I just decided, well, that's what I'm going to do. I'll just put villas. And this was the building. I was trying to put it closer to everything. It ends up being kind of out of the way, but I guess it will all be built up, and it is right on top of a hill there, which is kind of nice. Which is what I wanted. I kind of wanted just it to be like a big, something you could see from pretty much anywhere type thing. Kind of like the big, well, I mean, I guess you could look at New York with the Statue of Liberty, but you can't really see that in most places. But more so the big statue in Rio de Janeiro. Janeiro. You know where. Brazil. It's in Brazil. I don't actually know the proper pronunciation of it, but and then yeah, this road, I basically realized there weren't many direct crossings from kind of the original part of the city to this part on the right. So there's a couple exits that were just getting overwhelmed, like the one just at the top of the screen here. So I tried to make a couple more crossings, one with this road so people would just kind of go around the south once that gets built up a bit. And then just a couple more crossings wherever I could put them so it wasn't just one highway exit that was backing up. And then, of course, these offices are a pain to get to level 3, but I wanted them at 3 because they're kind of a centerpiece. So it just became a matter of putting every possible service there until it worked. I think half of these end up at 3 and some I still need to work on a bit. We have almost everything there, but you need like 3 bus stops and stuff in front of every building, and the metro, like I said, I couldn't really get it to work, so messing with it a little bit more would help. It'd probably be easier with the DLC that gives you trams and stuff. Also, you can see I was like, oh, I don't need all these old power lines, and then this entire block lost power. So I had to put them, not all of them back, but most of them. Because there isn't actually anything close enough for the power to go across. I do hope for Skylines 2, they add some kind of underground power lines similar to how the water works. Just because it'll be a lot neater not having to have these. I mean, even IRL, I guess. You tend to have power lines in rural areas where it's just cheaper, but in any city or even large town, it's all just buried, so you don't see it, and less hassle, less problems. I also somehow ran out of money here. You could see I was building, I think it was a school, and I realized that I actually didn't have enough money for it. So that was the first time in a long time where I just had spent way too much and couldn't afford anything. In this area, I want something a little fancier than just random squares, so I decided to make a circle, which isn't really that fancy, and it's certainly not the best use of that space in terms of just like maxing out all the open area with squares, but I wanted it to look a little more decorative, I guess. Eventually, this area, like I guess if you're looking at it from how the map was originally put, this eastern area is a bit higher income, I guess, because it'll have all those villas and stuff when it's done. So just trying to make it look a little fancier. And at some point, I'm going to have to devote probably a whole episode to just placing trees and landscaping and stuff like that. This was a big problem area where a lot of cars were coming off all in this one spot to get to mainly all the commercial areas. I probably should have had those closer to just the road, but I didn't. And the pre-made roundabouts are way too big, so I figured, well, I'm smart enough to make a circle, so that's what I did. It's not a perfect circle. Maybe it is. It's kind of hard to tell because it connected to that top road, but yeah, I put that in here just hoping that with 6 lanes it should pull people off of the highway quick enough. And also tried to make a large off-ramp and short on-ramp, just so there wasn't as much kind of blocking on the highway. Not entirely happy with how it turned out. I don't know. It's another thing where I'll probably just go back and mess with it after, but for now, it works fairly well, I believe. It is still packed. And of course, the game defaults everything to lights, so I had to go through and just adjust every intersection until it more or less worked. And yeah, like 6 lanes is as big as you can get, so I can't really do much with that circle aside from just make more places where people can cross without having to get on the highway. I should just probably tear some stuff down and make a better crossing area, one that is meant for it, but I don't know, I have to see. That would be a lot of tearing things down to be able to do that, so if I can figure out a better way, I'll do that first. I do have this. In theory, it should be everything that's needed, but I did find that the game was not really picking it up as the fastest way. I guess just because the max speed limit on the highway is obviously higher, so it was saying, okay, well, if we go the highway way, it should be quicker, but I don't know if it really accounts for traffic or not. One thing I can do that I haven't done yet is make that kind of tunnel underground into a primary road, and then they might prioritize that, but I'm not sure. The other thing is where the highway kind of ends here. I might adjust that a bit, because right now the highway goes into a two-way road and then the roundabout. I could just have it go straight into the roundabout. It would kind of stop the merging issues, but for now it's not horrible, so I left it. And this is just a continuation of trying to get every possible service in that area, so all the office buildings get taller, which is also the reason you'll never see me play the European maps, because they don't have skyscrapers. They just have like those walls of brick buildings that have, like, they're all just one building basically that's separated, and I really don't like that look nearly as much. And this is something I said I would do in the last episode, and I actually remembered. It was just putting a metro line going the opposite direction, so that if you wanted to go, basically, if you have the circle of the original line and you have two spots beside each other and you want to go between them, say go to one and then back, you don't have to go all the way around when you're going the opposite direction of the circle. I don't know why I'm having such a hard time finishing sentences, but hey, I did just finish work and I'm trying to get this done on a Monday. With this coming out tomorrow, I am a little bit behind. It's been busy. A lot of stuff has just more or less been going, I'd say, wrong. So yeah, been some adversity for sure. But here I'm making the kind of, it's rural, but I don't want it to look like it's low density but not rural, if that makes sense. Like, it's still supposed to be easy access, part of the city and everything. It's just large estates, like villas and stuff like that. So trying to make it look like that, it's a little tricky but not horrible. And then I remembered parking lots, and just try to put parking lots in as many places as I could, because realistically they should be all over the place. All the parking that these places would need is insane. But so we scatter them a fair bit. I don't think we get to the point in this episode where you actually see them fill up, because it does take a while for people to go to them, because for some reason they're treated as a park rather than just something you use with another building. So that's another thing I'm hoping for with Skylines too, is just kind of incorporate parking lots into building zones. Like, in my head, what I'm thinking of is a Walmart. Like, you don't just have the building and it's right on the road. You have like the big area that has the parking lot, and in the middle of the parking lot is the Walmart type thing. So I'd like to see something like that. For the most part, that's everything we had to do this episode. We filled up kind of that office area, and we got all the villas and stuff started, and we have another spot for the ships to go to. You can see the passenger ships are still going to both, so I might just keep them. Basically what I'm doing now is just fishing for a thumbnail. You already know what it looks like, but it's somewhere in here. I think it's right near the end actually, but I kind of go over like the villas and stuff. It's a nice hilly area. I think the villas will work pretty well, and then you have this right beside it. I don't want it to be too dense, because then it just doesn't look good. I think this will be a pretty good balance, especially like looking from above and stuff too. But that's pretty much it. So like, subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you later. Bye.